Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Rage Against the Regime at Blog Talk Radio. To call in, dial 929-477-3565. That's 929-477-3565. I was born in the land of the free and the home of the brave. I'll bleed American blood until the end of my days. The red, white, and blue, these colors never fade. Rage against the regime.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're having a little technical difficulties. It looks like I've got my guest on hold. This is Becky Williams with Rage Against the Regime podcast. And welcome to another episode with a very exciting guest. Sunnette Bridges joins us again today. We'll be discussing the white genocide issue in South Africa and some of the things that are going on that are very parallel to these episodes that are occurring across the globe, attacking whites, Jews, and Christians. Welcome, Sunnette.
Hello, Becky. Thank you very much for having me again.
Well, I'm so pleased to see you're alive and kicking and well. And I'm excited to hear about what's going on over in South Africa and where you are with your activities concerning some of the issues and charges that you faced.
Yes, I indeed. Well, kicking, much to the surprise of many, much to the dismay of...
Sunnette says we're only getting about every third syllable. We're not even getting whole words. I think your connection is poor.
Well, it seems to be fine here, but it won't. I'm going to get perhaps a bad line.
We've dropped Sunnette. I'm not sure what happened there, Jim. My
it's a
intro
voice
cut
over
off.
IP. No, it wasn't you, and it wasn't. It's her voice over IP. She's either on Skype or she's on a voice over IP, and it definitely was a bandwidth issue because when she began to speak again, it was clear, and then the buffer filled up and she broke. So that was the key indicator there.
Well, on the intro to the show, it cut off, and then I couldn't play my music, and you got bumped.
Yeah, but you and I are clean, and we have a good, clean connection. So if you, let's see if she calls you back, and if not, maybe she can call the bridge. And okay, well, I'll sit here and listen. If you need my help, I'm right here.
I appreciate it, Jim. Thank you. Welcome back, Sunnette.
Hi, Becky. Any better now?
A little bit. You are still breaking up. Are you on Skype? Is that what you're using?
Yes, I am indeed. Would you prefer me to call a number?
No, let's see how you do with the Skype. I don't want you to incur that expense. That could be very expensive. So
it's not a problem because I do have Skype phone and it's not such an issue from South Africa. So if that's a call, then that's also fine if it will work better.
Well, you might try that. It's do you have the number? It's right there. It's 929-477-3565. If you wouldn't mind, try to call in so that we can get you in loud and clear to the audience.
And if I may, Becky, if she would close any other applications, because even though she's going to use a Skype Direct, which I have, she's still going to use the IP network. So maybe she has some things like close your email client down and close down anything you don't need to do the show, my friend, and that should open and maybe free up some bandwidth for you.
I've already done all of that. But I'm going to give the number and give it a try. So I'm disconnecting from this call now. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Well, it just wouldn't be Rage Against the Regime if we didn't have a few issues. So we'll be patient for a moment and allow her some time to call back in. Jim, I'm so disturbed about something that's going on here that is not relevant to the show title. I got word today that the usurper, cockroach, Muslim pig, Obama, is moving 75,000 Syrian Muslim refugees to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
That's very disturbing to me because we all know that ISIS has stated that they'll come in under refugee status, and they're already here. I think she's back. Sunette, is this you?
This is me indeed. Is this any better?
It's much better. Thank you so much. We do appreciate it.
Oh, wonderful.
So,
no,
Sunette,
not a problem.
Well, welcome back again to Rage Against the Regime, and I'm so sorry that we're having some technical issues this afternoon, but hopefully from here on out we'll have a clear show.
It's not a problem.
If you wouldn't mind, please introduce yourself to the new listeners.
All right. Well, my name is Sunette Bridges. I'm an activist, South African, born and raised. I love my country. I used to be, in the good old days, an artist, singer, songwriter, but I'm afraid that the work that I've been doing has been very detrimental to my career. So these days, I'm just an activist. I try to get the word out about what is happening in South Africa. And then, obviously, I have a charity organization, and I try my utmost best to work with my own people, amongst my own people, to try and better the circumstances that the current regime has left my people in. So I'm a mother. I have 5 kids. I'll be 45 in 2 months. And yeah, I'm generally a very upbeat, positive, happy person, but I am extremely concerned and saddened about what my people are facing in this country at the moment.
Tell the listening audience a little bit about that subject, if you wouldn't mind, Sunette.
Well, Becky, we are facing issues on several fronts at the moment. Firstly, obviously, and the most disturbing is the fact that white South Africans are being murdered at an alarming rate by groups of black attackers. 60% of these victims are elderly folk, our grandmothers and grandfathers, who are being tortured, raped, brutally butchered in their homes, on their farms, in towns, in cities, across the country, at a rate of about 18 to 20 of our people a month. Now, that might not seem a lot in the American context, but if you have to look at that in the context of the fact that we are an extreme minority, we make up less than 7% of the entire population of South Africa, which is officially at 52 million, which is 6 times fewer people than in total than there are in the entire United States, and then obviously we, being just under 7% of that. So, and then also considering the fact that violence the other way around, white on black violence, is non-existent in this country. So this is disturbing. It is concerning. We have lost over 3,000 people on farmers in South Africa. Our food security is under threat. We have laws that are now being imposed, which might see even fewer farmers left on the land to produce food. We have laws that's threatening our right to own anything in this country: property, businesses, farms, our private homes. We have racist legislation, affirmative action, broad-based black economic empowerment, employment equity, quotas, you name it, we have it, and that against such a small minority, facing a vast majority of black people trying to force us not only out of the job market but also our land. It is disturbing, and it is not just detrimental to the white population as such, or the Afrikaner population in particular, but it is detrimental to this entire country. Our economy is failing. Our power grid is under extreme pressure to the point where we are facing blackouts, what they call, I'm forgetting the English terminology, I'll get it now, but they switch off the power in certain areas during the day at any time or at particular times where we simply cannot supply power anymore to all the areas in the country, to business. Our rand is failing. It is already at 12 rand 50 to the dollar. Which is a nightmare for us when we have to look at imports, and especially facing food shortages, having to look at the prospect of having to import food. So we are in trouble, and we are in serious trouble as an entire nation, as a country as a whole, but also in particular as the white population, the very few of us that are left in this country.
Let me ask you a question, Sunnette, because obviously, this is an awareness program to bring light to the situation in South Africa. We're seeing huge attack on whites here in America under this administration or the shadow government, band of thieves and rogue thugs that is running the American government. We've been usurped by a Muslim mole who was actually placed in position for this. He's decimated our military. The DOJ here, the position for the DOJ, who is a black man, a convicted felon, who by way of force with weapon, in college, actually, he and some of his thug buddies had taken over an ROTC office. And they had done so because they wanted to change the office into a headquarters for the Black Panther movement, which is now, it initially did not start out as such, but is now a Muslim-run black organization that has afforded many things that if we had a white KKK, for example, organization promoting white power in my country would be arrested for the things that the Black Panthers are allowed to do. But the DOJ, Eric Holder, and Obama have waged war on the white population and law enforcement across the land and are funding and propagating hatred toward the whites and the police officers, and funded many protests across the country. Whites are being attacked. We see the affirmative action right here in my own country. We see the news media refusing to report, and I'm sure this is by direction of government, the many atrocities that are occurring across the board of crime and murder at the hands of the blacks and assaults on whites at the hands of the blacks in my country. For instance, we can have a Black College Fund, Black History Month. You can't have a White History Month. You can't have a White College Fund. So we see across the board that they're being given privileges and preference and entitlements that the white men are excluded from or are not equal to. And the lie that the government is telling the people is this. In order to have balance, we must have equality. How, in fact, can you have equality when it is an unbalanced playing field? When one is given preference, you can't take away from one to give to another and claim balance. That's insanity at best. But my question, and that was long-winded, just to kind of open up a little bit of about what's going on in America, and I see some parallel here, is this. You were born there. You're almost 45 years old. This is something you have seen come to fruition. Do you feel in America, with some of the things that I just shared with you, that we are headed down the same road that South Africa is now suffering concerning the white genocide?
Becky, if it's allowed to continue unabated, if the American people don't take a stand, I think firstly if they don't wake up to it, because I think our biggest problem is that people don't want to know. yes, if they do nothing about it, they will head exactly in the same direction that South Africa has, well, the destination that we've already arrived at. But I do believe, and I have to state this again, and I do so in every single interview that I do believe that the power to enforce change, to stop the madness, is still within the hands of the American people. I still believe that there are enough people that are patriots, that believe in liberty, that believe in what is right, that cherish their freedoms. I still believe that there are enough of those people left in the United States to stop the madness. Whereas in South Africa, millions of our people are not here anymore. They've left the country permanently. They are out of the country to work elsewhere, because if you're white, you can't get a job in South Africa. Our people are having very few children. White South Africans have very few children, not enough to even maintain our numbers. Our youth are leaving the country. They are studying abroad and not coming home. So, we are left with about 4.5 million people fighting against the majority of what is now considered to be about 72 million people, where the official numbers are actually just 52 million. So in South Africa, it's madness. It has become completely insane, and we are completely dependent on the international community to call an end to this, to say this needs to stop. What is happening in South Africa is not right. Whereas I believe that in the United States, there are still enough good people who are patriots and want America to remain the great nation that it is known to be all over the world. And I really have a lot of faith in the fact that I think the people will not let it go as far as it actually did in this country.
Well, my concern is, I know that you've seen this unfold in your own nation. Do you see similarity to how the white genocide had become so successful? Do you see a parallel in the events and the entitlements that we are witnessing right here in my own country? Because, everything has to start somewhere, whether it's a positive forward movement or a negative. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, there obviously are parallels. It's scary. The signs are there. The laws are being put in place. The discrimination, the media ignoring black on white violence, the media calling anything, even the minutest form of discrimination, or even just being rude to a black person would be reported as being a racist attack, whereas a black on white murder would go unreported. It would never be referred to as racist. All those things are happening in the United States, and the people there need to wake up to it. They need to wake up to the reality of what is happening to your country, and if they do not stop it in time, and they end up in the situation that we are at, it'll be too late. So if it goes unabated, yes, you will face what we are facing in this country at the moment, and that would be a disaster, not just for the United States, but for every other country in the world facing exactly the same situation. The same signs are showing in Europe. There is a lot of problems there because of people streaming across their borders, and to me, it makes no sense that the governments are allowing this, and knowing what the results will be. You have to wonder about the agenda of governments allowing these things to happen in their countries. And in the United States, where the majority of people are still white, they still have time. And time is not your friend. It marches along swiftly. So people need to do something about it. They need to wake up and speak out, unless they want to be in the same situation.
I know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I know right here in my own city that I am outnumbered by far as a white American at any given venue, whether it be at a restaurant or a flea market or the mall. It doesn't matter where I am. I am outnumbered greatly, probably it would be 200 to 1 in an open venue at a mall or a flea market, 200 to 1 by Hispanics. I'm outnumbered probably 50 to 1 by the blacks, and I'm outnumbered probably 150 to 200 by Muslims, Middle Eastern folks. And then we have the other international groups that have come here that are of color. So we're already seeing this come to fruition in my country, where the whites are vastly becoming outnumbered and being attacked. We're excluded from any special programs that have been implemented for business, startup capital. We have contracts, the government contracts that will state clearly in its verbiage, and this is a quote, no white male-owned business may apply a bid for this contract. We are excluded, and folks that are not in a position to bid for a large contract for their business via the government, that are owned, they own and are of the white race, would not be aware of these facts if people like myself and researchers were not looking it up. The same thing goes for instance, my roommate's brother had cancer. He was 59 years of age. He had throat and tongue cancer. He had to move in with his elderly parents. His children were grown. He was not married. He was unemployed, unable to work. When he went to apply for not only medical assistance because he had no insurance, but for any assistance that he could receive, food stamps or whatever, to relieve some of that burden from his elderly parents, he was told flat out, you are a white male, unmarried, no children at home, we cannot help you. White was used in that conversation. This is very, very disturbing. He was a man who was terminal. At the time, he was not terminal. It led to that, at which point he took his own life. But this is the tragedy that we're experiencing. There's allocations that have been set aside for the federal government that give the school districts $2,000 more to put a foreign invader, a child of foreign invaders, into that seat in the classroom. They're not held to the same standards of health regulations, the poison vaccines that our children are made to take in order to enter into the public school system. So we're seeing across the board, it's not just the blacks here that are threatening the white Americans, but we're seeing across the board that we have been invaded. So the government here, and I hate to call them that because they're not our government. They're obviously enemies of the state. We have a whole other issue here in America that's very disturbing in itself. But we see across the board that they're changing the racial demographics. Now, here an average Muslim family is 5 to 7 children. Hispanics are, on average, 7 children per family unit, and the Americans here are averaging 2 to 3 children at most. So you were speaking on you're not breeding there, you're not birthing enough children to even sustain a number of population for the white race there, for even challenge the exits of whites from Africa on their own accord, let alone the ones that are being slaughtered. So the reason that an American show is bringing someone like Sunnette Bridges on to this show is so that I can wake America up and say, look, this is where we're headed. I want you to see what's happening to our brothers and sisters of European descent over in the Africas, because we need to help you if we can, and we need to help ourselves. Yeah. Sunnette,
yes.
Let me ask you a question. I know that there are charges that have been brought against you, and we're seeing that here as well. Can you please elaborate on that a little bit about what you face as you battle the genocide of our race in your country?
Well, what has happened to me is that charges have been brought against me by the South African Human Rights Commission, stating that the fact that I report on black-on-white murders and black-on-white crime, and also obviously the racist laws being imposed against my people, that the fact that I report on this has created according to them, a platform for the harassment of black people. So the Human Rights Commission that should be reading my Facebook page going, oh my word, they killed another 250 white people this year, are going, oh my word, there were 100 really nasty comments against black people made on a Facebook page. So they decided to sue me for having created a platform for the harassment of black people and for hate speech against black people, saying that I should be held responsible for the comments of others, saying that I should keep 24-hour watch on my Facebook page, that I should see every comment, read every comment, and moderate it, and delete it, and block the people. And if I do not, then I am in fact guilty of hate speech. What they are in fact trying to do is just to make me stop reporting, because they cannot. I've not broken any law, but they are trying to find a way. And perhaps if they cannot do it legally, what they are doing at the moment is they are summoning me back and forward to Cape Town, which is a long way away from me. It's like being taken to court in another state, and it's costing a lot of money to defend myself. And they are hoping that by doing this, that they will frustrate me and perhaps even bankrupt me to the point where I will just give up, which is more what this entire witch hunt and persecution is about than anything else. They want me to stop telling the world what is going on in South Africa. It's a nightmare to face a court battle against your own government, because you have to wonder how fair you will be treated in a court of law, run by the very same regime that is taking you to court. So it's not pleasant, but it is not a battle that I can afford to give up, not just for myself or my own sake, but for the sake of the message, for the sake of what we need to tell the world about what's going on in South Africa. Now, I do understand in South Africa that most people are not willing to speak out. They will lose their jobs. They will be persecuted, as I am. But what I do not understand, and I mean, I know I'm the one to be answering questions, but why would you say that in a country like the United States, where there are so many millions of proud Americans, are they in fact allowing this or turning a blind eye to it? Is it that they are not aware? Is the media not informing them? Are they slowly, have they been immersed in water that is heating up slowly? Or do they just choose to not know and not take a stand against it?
I would suspect that all three of those are factors. Fear is control, sis. We see across the board that fear has been used since the beginning of time to control a population. And right here in my own country, and we have many who will claim to be patriots. They're very brave on social network. They speak out in outrage, but they do very little to publicly take action. In other words, it's lip service. And it's very frustrating to leaders like myself, who I've put myself very much in the same position you have with my own government. One of my avid listeners would be a courthouse from Washington, D.C. I don't need to tell you that's the DOJ, most likely trying to build a case against me. And I'm not afraid of them. They can listen all they want to. I'm well within my rights to speak out against the tyranny and the espionage that we're experiencing right here in my country. And like you, we have a court system that has been completely corrupted. Their honor is not to the people, but to the state. The state has proven to be an enemy of the people. Government is supposed to be run in capacity where they are subservient to the people, and for far too long we have been subservient to government, which is a travesty in itself. And the Lord said this, and I know you're a Christian woman, so you'll understand what I'm about to say. My people will perish for lack of knowledge. And exactly. He didn't necessarily mean only biblical knowledge will cost them their eternity. The lack of knowledge in this life will cost you everything. But even more insane than that is the folks that do have the knowledge and refuse to take action and use that knowledge and afford perpetual motion of positive gain. So we're seeing across the board that those three things that you listed are most likely the reason. Complacency. I did a show on three words came to me one morning, and I felt like it was something God put on my heart, because my own frustration, as yours, was why won't people do anything? How is it that we can allow the travesty and the destruction of a country and its people? How is it that we sit back and allow this to happen? Three things came to me: complacency, fear, and subordinate. Because one of the questions in my heart was this: how is it that we can have so many veterans in this country who are trained, who have taken an oath, and I hear it all the time on Facebook, and I'm so sick of it I could vomit, but that they have taken an oath to defend the country and its people against foreign and domestic enemies. Well, it's obviously blatantly true that we have enemies of the state right here in our own government, yet our veterans will not rise up and do anything to fight against it and to save this great nation. Of course, with the help of the patriots, it's our responsibility, constitutionally speaking. But I did break it down. Subordinate, by its definition, complacency by its definition, and fear. And those three things are the very reason that we are seeing not only my nation, but your nation and many others across the globe crumbling beneath this death grip that is being held on us by New World government. We are already under a New World government.
I must say that I would add to that, especially in the South African context. You know, I hear you speak of veterans. As for our veterans, I have to tell you that our veterans, because, I mean, we stopped having a real defense force of any kind or army of any kind about 22 years ago. The men that served prior to that were very proud and obviously some of the best soldiers in the world. And what happened to them is such a travesty, because they were still the one day proudly serving their country against an enemy, a terrorist organization, and told literally the very next day that these people that they had sacrificed, their friends had sacrificed their lives for, that these people who had remained, had endangered their lives for, were now their new government. And, you know, they had to watch their friends die on our borders. And the very next day, these people are now the ones giving the orders. And, you know, you cannot blame these people, especially ones that had stayed on in the permanent force, that were not just serving the country, you know, because we had subscriptions. So our young men had to go to our army for 2 years. It was compulsory. So, you know, these men who had actually literally given their lives to our defense force had done it for nothing, for absolutely nothing. And it's 22 years later. They're not young men anymore. And, you know, you cannot blame them for not knowing what the hell it is that they're supposed to be fighting for. In a country like ours, where we are now such a small minority, our weapons have been taken away from us with all kinds of bogus laws. And we are living in security estates, camped in and behind burglar bars and electric fencing and security guards and who knows what else. And that is how we live. And that is not a position that you can really put up a fight from. So our biggest need in this country at the moment is voices. And because our government knows that getting the message out is very important to us, it is good for them to target somebody like me, because if they can silence me, they'll silence 100 other people who also wanted to do what I am doing. And we are a lot of people who are trying, but I think everybody is keeping a close watch on this court case against me to see what is going to happen to me and is it worth it. And fear is the one thing. I mean, I obviously refuse to be governed by fear. If I allowed my fears to take over my life, then I would simply not ever leave my home, not ever speak a word again about what is happening, and most probably just play a round of golf every day and pray to God that, you know, my family will be safe, which I also do, but I just refuse to just sit by and watch all of this happen. It's not just slaughtering my people, but their poverty and the absolutely disgusting, inhumane circumstances that white South Africans are being placed in with absolutely no assistance. The government is not going to help them. Broad-based black economic empowerment laws is making it impossible for business to help my people. We're not getting the donations we need. If companies donate to charities that benefit white South Africans, they lose their BEE rating. So we are in all kinds of trouble. We are not just being murdered, but our people are literally back in the situation that they were during the Anglo-Boer War, where our women and children were placed in concentration camps. And today we face the fact that our people are being placed in similar circumstances, if not worse. And nobody is paying attention, and nobody gives a damn, because the face of poverty in Africa is black. People don't even know that almost 20% of the white South African population is living in utter squalor, in the most disgusting circumstances possible, with absolutely no hope in help to get help from anything.
It appears that we are in a similar situation, but not yet to the degree in which you sit. The murdering of the police officers, and we just had 2 attempts on 2 police officers who were shot by the very protest that's being paid for by the DOJ to bring up black protesters who for many generations has been used by government for political gain and purpose, and to divide the people. And in its concept, it is a form of population control. It has many reasons why it is used. The blacks cry out that they're targeted and they're poor and downtrodden, targeted by the police and the judicial system because they are the largest population next to the Hispanics in our prison systems today, but yet they commit the crime and then cry foul play. What we see across the board is generations of impoverished black Americans by choice, perfectly happy to be owed something, to take something for free, and too lazy to get up and fight against it and stop accepting the fact that the government is calling them far too ignorant or lazy to provide for themselves. And so we see again and again and again the situation where our DOJ in the last 4 years has launched an attack on whites in the police departments by the blacks and fund the protests, provide the organizers for these protests. And the sad thing is we too have been taken over by the enemy of America. Our government right now is infiltrated with Muslims and blacks who hate white Judeo-Christians. They hate everything that a republic stands for. They hate everything that a freedom stands for, and they are trying to change the demographics. The sad part of this is that the largest reign of terror that Islam has on my country right now and its recruiting is on the black population, both in the penitentiaries as well as in the streets. They target the suburban neighborhoods that are dominantly Section 8 housing and black children who are fatherless and selling drugs on the street, and they formed a coalition and they have been indoctrinating them into Islam. Do you see in your country a strong coalition where not just the whites but the Christians in particular are being attacked and Islam is gaining ground?
Becky, in our country, I mean, we don't have, at the moment, have that issue with our Muslim population. That they are growing is true. That they are financially very powerful is true. That they have a lot of big business is true. We do, however, have these radical groups. In fact, your very Black Panthers are, in South Africa. They came here with the blessing of this government just before our previous election. And they are openly propagating the killing of white people. So For me, at this moment, it's a black versus white thing. It is not at the moment so much a religious war, because in our country, due to the politics, whites are being blamed for absolutely everything that is wrong in this country. Nobody else is taking responsibility. Every ill of this country is being blamed on the white population. White people don't feel guilty enough. They still have too much money. They have too much power. They have too many homes. They have too much of everything as far as this government is concerned. And this government's not doing its job. It's stealing billions of our taxes and not providing or delivering on their promises. And then when they fail, all they do is they tell their voters it's the fault of the white man. But I've also made an extremely interesting observation, and looking at the American politics, and even in South Africa. I think that black people are being abused by liberal white people. I do believe, and I have stated this often, that obviously the most racist people in the world are liberals, because they believe themselves to be the voice of black people. They believe themselves to know better how to be black than black people know how to be black. And I think they abuse black people and the black people's lack of knowledge of how the world works. They abuse that to mobilize black people who have become their own biggest enemy. The people that are persecuting me in this country are not in fact black people, although the black people are being told that I am their enemy. But the people that are running that campaign, the people actually responsible for the persecution, are white people. They need a figure that they can push forward to the black people and say, look at that woman, she's your enemy. She's a racist. She hates you. They never tell black people that I don't hate anybody, but I do love my people. I love my people above all else in this country as much as I love my country as a whole. But I do not believe this country can be healthy if my people are oppressed. I do not believe that there is anything wrong with wanting to help your own culture, people who speak your language, people who look and think like you, people who share your religion, which is what I have chosen to do. And if you find somebody in the black culture who did the same, who is looking after their kids' education, their culture, raising funds to address the issues that they are concerned about, that person would be hailed a hero if that community is black. But if the community you choose to serve are white, then you are obviously a racist. But the people saying these things are white people. And, I've heard very interesting conversations from intellectual black people in the United States who are also sick and tired of the fact that they are being helped by these white people all the time. And by being helped, I mean that, when there is affirmative action, as far as universities are concerned, what are they saying to these black people? Are they saying to them that, you're not quite as clever as a white person, but we'll make it easier for you to get into university or college because, we feel sorry for you? I mean, that has to be the most racist thing in the world. We feel really sorry for you because you're black and we know you can't start your own business, so we're going to create a new law that says a white man has to give you half of his business. What are you actually saying to these people?
Yes, exactly, and I've made that statement. And using other verbiage, but I have made that same statement because the requirement for entry into college, the entrance exam grade required to get in, blacks have the lowest grade requirement. And this is basically the same thing. What are they telling them, that they're stupid because of the color of their skin? Is that what the government is trying to say? And Asians actually have to have a higher score than whites. Across the board, by separating a population based on color for something as asinine as an entry exam for college has got to be nothing more than a propagation of hatred or unease for the people by its government. It pushes whites out of position for scholarships. It pushes Asians out of position for scholarships. And the blacks will be move forward in that arena both by free money or scholarships and by affirmative action based on lowest score level.
Well,
so,
we have exactly the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have exactly the same system
parallel
in South Africa. Yes, we have the
right.
same system in South Africa, and to me, like I've just said, that's the biggest insult that you could possibly give. You cannot insult a race group more than to say to them, listen, guys, we know you're not that clever, so you don't have to do as well to get into university. And those are liberal people doing that. So, and I also believe, that's social engineering. I think social engineering has to be the most destructive thing that can possibly happen, because I think if people were left alone to organize and sort themselves out, to find a natural order of things, a natural structure, naturally succeed because you are working harder than somebody else, not based on the color of your skin, based on your achievements, based on how hard you are willing to work, this world would not have had 1/10 of the racism it does. I do not believe, in fact, that 30 years ago, there was 1/10 of the racism that is currently in this world, whilst we are now in a situation where we are being, by laws, forced to not be racist.
Yes.
People consciously know how to behave. But the moment you start imposing laws, forcing them to behave in a certain way, you cause uprising. You cause people to be angry about that. Nobody tells me how many times to chew my food before I swallow it. I know that I'm supposed to do that, as I know that I shouldn't be, make derogatory remarks against people, that I shouldn't hurt people just because based on the color of their skin I don't like them. But enforcing these things by law and then persecuting and prosecuting people based on these laws, that has caused more racism in this world than what naturally would have ever existed.
Well, it disturbs the natural balance of things. And the other thing that happens concerning curriculum is this. You have generation after generation of people who have never lived outside of Section 8 housing in my country. They've never learned responsibility, nor have they earned anything for themselves. They feel entitled to these things based on a lie that has been beaten into them for generations by a government. So what happens is this. Mom is not, or dad is not worried about the black child reaching an age in where they can enter into college. They have no aspirations for them there. So if a child, by his own will or her own will, decides that they do want to attend college and they come from this culture, this environment, they are not encouraged. And you have parents who will not attend to their children's needs during their formative years, through elementary school into the junior high years and their high school years. They're basically left to skip school. They're left to neglect their grades. High school is more a social event for them, so they do not excel, understanding that it won't make any difference. They'll be passed anyway based on their color alone. They'll graduate if they stay in. If they just attend school and not make the grade, they'll be pushed forward. And then the same thing will happen into college. And essentially what we have is these uneducated idiots that get out and they're given the position, again, by affirmative action. Someone will be looked over based on color for that position as more qualified. And now you have idiots running industry and business, which the government loves because it keeps them ignorant of national and international policies concerning business and exchange. So there's a reason for everything that they do.
Yes, of course. I mean, we obviously have exactly the same situation, but in our country it has progressed to the point where obviously, our electricity supply is done by a parastatal, meaning obviously a company that belongs to government, and they have placed uneducated people and unskilled people into high positions, which is the reason why our entire power infrastructure is failing. They are now looking at these broad-based black economic empowerment laws and affirmative action laws and saying that there are still too many white people and we need to fire them amidst a crisis of, where we literally don't have power all the time. But even in that situation, they are saying, listen, We don't care that it's the white engineers that are still keeping this place running, but we need to get rid of them because there's still too many of them. And we'll put people in there whether they are qualified for those positions or not. Now, all of this is creating more and more hatred. If you are sitting at your home and you know that you have friends that don't have jobs that are qualified to keep this power grid running, but they cannot have those jobs because they are white, and you have to sit without power, your first reaction is hatred. You are going, this is frustrating, this is irritating, this is wrong, I hate the situation. And this is causing more and more racism because we have a black government. Our anger is directed at a black government, not because they are black, but because they are incompetent.
Yes.
But if you are a black person and you criticize this government, it is your right. If you are a white person and you criticize this government, you are a racist. The mere fact that you pay taxes and have a certain expectation of what they're supposed to do with that money is not enough. If you are white, you need to keep quiet, because how dare you judge a black president, a black minister, a black government of sorts, of any kind, because the mere fact that they are black and you are white means you need to keep quiet. Now, this has caused so much anger in this country. And then, of course, black people are being told, and we have millions of black people in squatter camps, millions of black people who don't have homes, don't have jobs. We have almost 18 million black people living off social grants, yet we don't have even 5 million people in this country that pay taxes. So we are 5 million, less than 5 million people having to support not only this entire country by our taxes, but also support 18 million people who are living off grants. Those very same people expect to have their power supplied for free. They want their homes for free. They want water for free. They want their kids taken into university for free. They want them in schools for free. They pay for absolutely nothing, and we still give them money to live off. It's an untenable situation. It cannot carry on. It is causing this country to fail daily. It is causing more and more poverty. Because if you put uneducated and unqualified people in business, in high positions in business, those businesses fail. And in the end, that results in more and more job losses, because that business cannot sustain itself and it cannot employ people. And that is happening across the board in this country, from government-owned large corporations to private industry. And I still want to reiterate that if we didn't have any of these laws, there would be a natural order to things where people who worked harder and qualified themselves would have positions, and this country would be able to function. And then because of the fact that it's not functioning and more black people are ending up in poverty, they are being told that it's the white man's fault. The white man has too much land, they have too much money, and this all needs to be taken away from us. And these things that are being stated by our very own government, we have our president getting on a stage singing about killing white people. We literally have white people being killed every single day. And it's because black people are being told that we are to blame for everything that goes wrong in their lives. They don't ever have to take responsibility. They don't have to better themselves. And that everything would be better for them once we are out of the way.
I have a theory. I see so many parallels. We have our government cussing the white people as well. We have the DOJ who is propagating hatred. The subjugation that's going on here concerning law is horrendous. It's a travesty at best. But we also see the same thing. A select few are expected to carry the weight of the rest of this country on their backs. But we can go one further. This government has now passed a IRS or taxation law in my country that all illegals who have never paid a dime in are entitled to tax credit benefits up to $7,500. And that's, of course, based on the number of children they have in their household, and they breed like cockroaches. And just yesterday I received word from a gentleman that on a Spanish radio station right here in Texas, there was an announcement that our government is paid for an ad for the Hispanic-speaking population in this country to inform those across the border to keep on coming and hurry up and get here, because in April, they get to file for free money. Now, they're already given $6,000 a month supplement for invading my country for this act of war against my country and my state. But now there is a broadcast to bring the masses in, if you will, to give us another influx. And I've already given you the numbers that I'm already facing in my own city concerning how many are actually here. Now they're being given a card, they're being given food stamps, they're being given free school supplies, free school lunches, free medical care, free cell phones, and they're given a check. And now they're going to receive tax money that they never paid in to receive. And we are highly disturbed by this. So we not only are facing the same issues that you're facing, but our government is making sure that they bring a few more in by the tune of about 50 million already and millions more to come, not to mention the 75,000 Syrian Muslim refugees. The Christians are being slaughtered in Syria, but they're not bringing those out. They're bringing in the Muslim refugees who have already stated by ISIS that they will infiltrate us based on a refugee status, and they're already here. They're here. We're seeing across the board they're trying to destroy us. Well, we are a nation that now the government is changing face. We're seeing where there are more black or Muslim politicians in our agencies, in our courts, in our colleges, and we give them free college as well, by the way. They come over on special programs, but here and by large, we see what's happening with the black and the white population here, but we are really being run over as a whole by every nation and every color. So I see a lot of parallels with what's going on in South Africa, how you arrived at the situation that you're in there, and what we see coming to fruition here in America. And if my people don't wake up and help your people and help ourselves, we will be extinct as a race, period.
Well, we have exactly the same situation in South Africa. We have millions of illegal immigrants in our country, and our government also announced last year that from now on their children would also receive grants, whether they are illegal immigrants or people who actually have citizenship of another country, whether they've paid taxes ever in their lives. Their children will also be given grants that already go to our hospitals for free and they go to our schools for free. And in South Africa, obviously, our indigenous black population is also unhappy about this because these people are willing to work for much lower wages, and they don't run to the courts when they don't get paid enough because obviously they're here illegally. So they are being employed above local South Africans. So as I said, I always wonder about these freedom fighters, these people who wanted to free South Africa from the horrible white regime. What do they think now when these people that they wanted to help are now living in a country where we are the rape capital of the world, where every 4 minutes a woman gets raped, where we have 55 murders a day that we know of. We'll never know how many we actually have. We have the highest number of hijackings. We are absolutely a crime-ridden society, and we have more impoverished black people than ever before. We have more of them that don't have jobs and don't have homes, who are living in squatter camps than before the world saved them. So I'm wondering where all these heroes are now. These people who were so dreadfully, desperately concerned about what was going to happen to black people in South Africa. Now that everything is worse for them, and I'm not referring to the elite, the people who have friends in all the right places who are getting the contracts and the money because they don't even make up 1% of this population, the black people who have benefited. But the people in general are worse off than ever. So where are their saviors now?
I think that many of them have hidden themselves from the face of not only the public but from God himself. There's another scripture where it says that God did not give you a spirit of fear, okay? And you can almost identify a person who claims to be a Christian but in fact is truly not walking with the Lord based on that one thing alone. if you're walking around in fear out there, I'm not saying that you're not a Christian. I'm saying that you're not walking with God the way you need to be, because he would remove that from your spirit. Just like one day I woke up, he reminded me my children were not my own. As I prayed, I was just unraveled with sorrow and grief and worry about what is coming and the situation we're in. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. My hair started falling out. I started to age. And the Lord reminded me one day, listen, Becky, they're not yours. They're mine. They're borrowed. I will take care of the children. And it was that very day that he removed that spirit of fear from my heart, and I have walked boldly with courage. You know, some don't see it as courage, and I'm sure that you experience the same thing. They see it as insanity, or I'm radical, or I'm racist. No, I speak the truth. I'm a truth stinger. I'm a truther. I'm a truth teller, and the deliverance may not always be eloquent, but I'm not here to massage your ears or masturbate your mind with candy-coated facts. I'm here to tell you the truth, to paint the picture of your demise and to awaken the masses to what's going on. Because if we if we sit, we will die. Who have I got? I've got 508 on the line. I'm sorry, area code. Is that you, Markle? Markle, 580. Area code 580, your microphone is open. Who's calling? I guess they don't want to speak. Anyway, they had their hand up. Sorry about that, Sunette.
It's not a problem. But, Becky, I feel the same. You know, this is not a popularity contest. There are very many people, I think more that way inclined, very many people who absolutely hate what I'm doing. They hate it because it's not nice for them. It's not what they want to hear. They want me to rather say, oh, we'll be fine, everything is okay, it's not as bad as that. And they want me to, you know, give these great messages. I have people actually saying to me on a daily basis, please, can you stop telling us all these horrible stories and be positive and talk about the nice things. I do. They tend not to want to. They tend not to want to hear those. I mean, I talk about my project, about the joys that I experience there, about things in my personal life that give me great joy. But the truth is what it is. You cannot candy coat it so that people will accept it more easily. So there are very many people really hoping that I would just shut up.
Oh, I have the same thing. I've lost. Here's the way I feel about it, Sunette. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And if I have lost you as a fan or a friend because of my deliverance of truth or its content, then I didn't need you anyway. You're part of the problem. Get out of my way and let me do what I feel God has appointed me to do. I do truly believe, Sunette, that people like you and me are put in a position that we are today, that we were born in the time that we were born to serve the purpose that we're serving. This is not my will. This is God's will. Go ahead, Sid.
I always say to people, you know, I would not have chosen this path for myself. Do they really think that any sane person sits down on their lovely patio, on their couch and go, I would really like to say stuff all day that puts me in danger, that irritates my government, and that gets half the people really angry at me. That's my mission in life. I want to go and build a farming project where I have 100 people that keep me awake at night because I have to feed them and I have to build them homes. That is what I want to do with my life. Do people actually think that? I mean, this is something that you do in spite of yourself. It is something that you do because there is a voice inside you saying it needs to be done, and unfortunately you're the one that's going to be doing it. And you know, obviously we are just people. You sit at home some days and hoping that this burden will just go away, that you'll wake up the next morning saying, you know what, I'd rather just play golf. I'm actually not doing this anymore. And I often think that I'm going to now I'm just putting down this tool and going, I'm not doing this anymore. And then the next day I simply find myself in the midst of doing what I do every single day because this is what God is expecting me to do. It's not something I chose. I would never have chosen this myself. I have 5 kids. I have a wonderful husband. I have a beautiful home. I live on a golf estate. I used to have a life where I worried about absolutely nothing. And this thing has grown inside me, and there's nothing that I can do to remove it. And I don't want to call it a burden. I don't see it as such. But sometimes it is. And sometimes I really just wish it would go away, and somebody else would take it over and go, Sunette, you know what, go on a nice long holiday. I'll do all of this now.
Man.
So you don't choose it.
I feel you, sister. There are days that I wake up, and here's the even sadder part. You know, the things that you grow up as a little girl dreaming about, you know, getting married, having a family, living happily ever after, traveling the beautiful world, doing beautiful things. Those are dreams and aspirations. My hope for dreams and aspirations have left me. I have no fantasy or imagination, imaginary bliss in my future for my life as retirement, nothing. I have none of that any longer because I know those things will never come to fruition. So my hopes and dreams have left me because of the knowledge of the real situation that is before us. I have no dreams and aspirations. I don't even have hope any longer. I'm a critical thinker. I am a realist, and I understand the situation that we're in, and I do believe we're living in the end times, and I believe that I've been robbed by societal insanity of any normalcy in my life, but those things have escaped me, and there's many days that I wake up and I think, I wish I did not know what I know. I wish I could turn back the hands of time and remain ignorant and remain, you know, in that little bubble.
Blissfully unaware.
Yes, I want to be unaware, but I can't. I can't do that.
I agree with you, Becky, to obviously with most of what you've just said, but I have to add that, you know, I do still have dreams and aspirations, especially for my own people, not necessarily born out of fantasy, more born out of necessity of the reality we face. My dreams are different from what they were when I was younger. I wanted to do music. I wanted to dance. I was in the School of Arts. I did ballet for 16 years of my life. I wanted to just be a carefree entertainer. And obviously I don't have those dreams and aspirations anymore. My dreams now have more to do with seeing these children that we are trying to take off the street, seeing them grow up in just in a better environment, getting them to school. To me now a dream is to have 14 lunch boxes packed so the kids don't go to school hungry. For me the dream is for people to be safe in the little community that we have placed them in, for them to just have a roof over their head. These were things that I never even thought about before in my life. These were things that I've always taken for granted. You know, people have homes, they have food, and they have jobs. That I know now that is not how it is. That scares me, and sometimes I wish I could just have the innocence back, where I didn't know these things. I wasn't as aware, because it's not something that you can ever put away in a closet somewhere and so I'll think about it again in a week. It's with you every single day. But I've not lost my dreams, but they've changed drastically from, you know, there's one of my favorite artists, the American artist called Joshua Caddison. He sings a song about Molly in the mirror, and where she's old and she digs up her wedding gown and she looks at herself in the mirror and she says she always wanted to go to Paris and to Morocco, and she had all these divine dreams of her life, and the reality is that she's a mother and she raised a child. And I've done that. I'm a mother and I'm raising several children, but I also now feel the responsibility of looking after other children, not born to me, but placed under my care. And now my dreams are just for them to not go to bed hungry at night anymore and just be safe where they are at.
Well, I like you do have those type of dreams. I was speaking in terms of for myself. Everything that we do, everything I do is selfless. At this point, everything I do is selfless. Some call it insanity, but I'm telling you now, I do this selflessly, just like you. And there are other things that are priority in life. So, yes, your dreams do change. My dream is to remove a rogue government and to take my country back, and that equality would be established here for all people. As a candidate for the governorship of Texas, part of my platform was to remove the minority button altogether. In a perfect world, there wouldn't be a square on a sheet anywhere that separated you by gender or ethnicity in order to fill out information on yourself. There wouldn't be, because that keeps us separated, and it has led to the very things that you and I are fighting against today. If you remove the minority button and every special provision, you eliminate the illegal corruption in government with lobbyists and corporations, you level the playing field for all people, and you eliminate a lot of that hatred. It would take generations to rid a nation or the world of that type of hatred, because it has been beaten into us by via the government.
I agree.
Period.
I agree.
And if you take that away and you give everybody the same opportunity and the same chances based on merit rather than race.
I agree. Yeah. I agree with you 100%, and I understand better what you're saying when you say you don't have dreams for yourself anymore. I suppose I obviously also don't, which is a scary thought. You don't think on it until you are put in a position where somebody actually asks you, what is it that you want for your life? And you blabber on about you want your country to be a better place and you want these people to have homes, and they go, no, that's not what I asked you. I asked you what you wanted for your life, and you realize that is become your life. And that, that thing that you wanted for yourself, there's none of that anymore. I mean, the dreams I had for myself of a successful career and traveling the world and all of that, obviously I don't have anymore, which is sad. I mean, I still have 5 kids in my home. I don't want them to become me. I want them to pursue their own dreams. I don't want them to be taken over by what my life has been taken over with. I'm not sorry about what I'm doing. I love it. And the times when I do succeed, the little successes that we do have, even if it's making one child smile, those things bring me enormous joy. And I wouldn't give it up. The little victories that we have along the way, they're never big, but they are there, and they sustain us. They keep us going. I think God gives us those every now and again to say, I'm still here. I'm watching you. Just carry on doing what you need to do. We need those. Otherwise, I suppose we would give up. Those give me enough joy to want to carry on. But I do not want for my children to become me. I need for them, while they are still young, to pursue their own dreams. But people like us need to create a world where they would be able to do that and not be put in a position where they cannot because they are white people, because in this country they are Afrikaner people. So if there aren't enough people fighting for an environment where our children can dream, this will also become their lives.
Yes, I agree 100%, and we need more of us. We need so many more of us in order to complete the task that's been given to us, to see it come to fruition with any type of success, even the most minute success in unraveling and stopping this insanity. It will take thousands. It will take thousands, and that's why we're doing the show, people, is so that you will be aware, you will be awakened, and that you will step up to the podium and be a voice to make a difference, to reach out and in awareness. And the political correctness needs to go out the window. Stop worrying about someone calling you a racist because you are trying to stop the genocide of a race. Be proud about who you are and the culture that you came from, and be proud of your race. Listen, if blacks can have black pride, whites can most certainly have white pride. Why is it racist if we have white pride, but it's not racist if they have white pride? Listen, step up to the plate and form a coalition with your brothers and your sisters of color. Find those in those communities that can help you reach the objective, which is to bring the people together and stop the hatred and stop the insanity. Because collectively, if you do that, if you form that coalition, if you can reach out and find those educated individuals that are not divided by the insanity of color that it has so been instilled in the hearts to create hatred. Listen, that's the devil's tool. That is Satan. That comes from Satan. It does not come from God. It comes from Satan and man. Stop the madness. Please, people, reach out and help, because in order for us to effectively disarm a government who is using this as a tool for population control, we really need to do this together. And I want to be clear, I have a mixed family. So anybody that's listening in, you want to send me hate mail because I did a white genocide show, I need you to shut the hell up and sit down, okay? Because I don't want to hear your stupidity. I really don't. If you don't have anything better to do than criticize someone who's trying to make a difference, you need to check yourself and step out the door, because you're not welcome in my arena. Get out. Get out now. I don't even want to waste my time with you, because trying to change the mind of an idiot is insanity. I will never change your mind, ever. Go ahead, Sid.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, to me, it's mind-boggling that people cannot see that the efforts of people trying to help their own people. You know, if you choose a group of people to help, who cares whether they are white or black or Afrikaners or English people? Who cares? At least you are helping people. You are not hurting others in the process. You are not doing anybody harm. You are helping a group of people. Why not just see it as that? The fact that you go where your heart tells you, where you go and help your people who look and talk like you, who have the same history, share the same culture, share the same beliefs. If these are the people that you want to help, then just let us carry on and get on and do this. We are not harming society. We are not harming people in the process. And I do not understand the reasoning of people who want to stop these kinds of projects, who want to say the mere fact that the 100 people that you are currently helping are white, you have to be a racist. It's a terrible thing. We need to stop it. I mean, do those
Becky,
100 people matter? Hello?
Becky.
Go
Can
ahead.
you hear me, Becky?
Don't interrupt the speaker. I'm going to bring you in just a moment, Markle. That's why I muted your mic. Go ahead, Sunnette.
No, I'm just saying, if I could only understand the mindset of those kind of people, if I could only understand the mindset of people trying to spread so much hatred, the people who are saying that speaking out against genocide is hate in itself, that they'd rather let the genocide carry on. Nobody must know or talk about it. That to them is not a crime. Talking about it is a crime. Helping 100 white people is a crime. They'd rather have them live on the streets than die of hunger. I do not understand, and I wish somebody someday could clearly explain this to me, because I obviously am too stupid to understand.
Well, I agree with you 100%. We've got Markle on the line, and he has something he'd like to say. We tried to bring him in earlier. Markle, I wasn't trying to be rude, sir. I just wanted the guest to finish her sentence before you broke in. We can hear you, Markle. How are you doing today?
Oh, pretty good if we can figure out, you know what, how to get him out of office. That's what I want to know.
Yes.
And
yeah.
that paper
Well,
up with that. They're trying to tell us we can't do it, or what?
No. What he's saying is that impeachment, and Sunnette, this is off subject. Markle had a question, obviously, about Obama. It's not saying that we can't remove him. He's obviously guilty of espionage. He's not an American-born citizen. He's a usurper. He is an enemy of the state. He has destroyed America. He has decimated the military. He is pushing Islam, the caliphate, and Sharia law. No, we actually can remove him. And when all the powers that have been appointed that task have failed to do so, they then become guilty of treason or misprision. And they, too, need to be removed and put in chains and tried for their crime and destruction against the American people. So Markle, no, he can be removed. What the lawyer is saying in that paperwork is that impeachment is not an option. Treason is not an option. People still, even after being educated by folks like myself and you and others, are still calling for his resignation, his impeachment, treason, and, listen, folks, you can't claim one thing and then cry out for another. I've heard the very same people who have acknowledged that he is a usurper, that he is not a natural-born citizen. They still cry out for impeachment or removal, and that's just simply not the case. He is an enemy of the state. We are at war. He declared war on America and America's people, and he should be removed. And I don't care if the NSA hears me. They can kiss my rosy white you-know-what.
Barry, but he's going to impose martial law before the next election. What do we do about that? I'm so
well,
fed
there'll
up.
be a war. Well, there'll be a war in this country.
By DC by myself. I'm
Markle,
that pissed.
I understand, but that then is when you will actually see a war in this country, because the people that want to sit behind the computer and claim to be patriots will not effectively even exercise the right for the very amendment that they cry out for, which is the Second Amendment. Oh, they want to take our guns. Well, at the end of the day, why are you claiming the Second Amendment right when you have absolutely no intention to use that right as it was written, which was against the tyrannical government? I'm sick of hearing the people cry out for help concerning the rights being violated, yet they have no intention or don't even have a clue as to the true meaning of it, and they have no intention of exercising that right. Do you understand what I'm saying, brother?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. I want to know how we go about this, because I've had.
Well, I'll be doing a show for that tomorrow, Markle. Today, our subject and guest, we're talking about the white genocide, and we're seeing that come to fruition right here in America. And in Africa, it is at an alarming rate that the whites are being slaughtered, and that the black empowerment movement is the cause of it, and the government itself, just like our government here, the shadow government, is turning blacks against whites and allowing these crimes to happen and police officers to be murdered without any justification whatsoever other than to divide a nation. So we're going to address that tomorrow. I don't normally do a Sunday show, but I will have a Sunday show, and I would be more than glad to address those questions concerning government tomorrow, because I'm pretty pissed off. I'm very angry.
Well, me too.
The State Department actually put out a Sharia law, the right to free speech post yesterday on Twitter and Instagram, and that is in itself very frightening. So they're letting us know the caliphate has been established in this country, and they think that there is nothing that we can do about it, but we will. And again, we'll address that show tomorrow, Markle. Do you have a question for Sunette?
No.
No.
I'm just worried about over
brother.
here.
Well,
what time
we need to be worried about everything, and this is why, as Sunette stated, if you'd been listening to the show, this is not something that is in another country and foreign to ours. This is all very connected, and if you'll understand this, the questions that I asked Sunette is with reason. I wanted to know what the parallel was to what has actually occurred in their nation and has led to the slaughtering of whites by the blacks, and it has been aggravated and propagated by their own government. We're seeing that come to fruition here at a different level, but we're in that process. We're in the process of seeing the whites being slaughtered in the Africas until the population will be no more. They will kill them off in South Africa, and we're seeing it come to fruition in Sweden. We're seeing the attacks now take place in France. We're seeing it in Italy. We're seeing it in Spain. We're seeing it in the UK, and we're seeing it here. This is a new world order agenda, and these are foot soldiers for the elitists that want to take over the world. Do you understand this? these demons are the foot soldiers to depopulate this nation. And they know that the white Judeo-Christian over history has been the victor in those battles. So what better way for them to assure their completion than to have the blacks take the white Europeans and the Judeo-Christians out? Because we're going to be it is, yes, it is a holy war. And this is why I've asked Sunnette these questions. I want the American people to understand not only do we need to help ourselves, but these people in Africa are crying out. Our white brothers and sisters are starving in squatters' camps over there. They're being raped and pillaged. They're living in deplorable conditions. And you will never see on American television or Christian TV in America any advertisement for donations for the starving children in Africa unless they're of color. You will never see white children displayed for your donations. And the ones that are receiving the benefit are UNICEF. UNICEF is the UN, so you have to understand where this is all coming from. Well, and that's why we're having this show today. It is awareness. There are so many things going on.
I just called on the wrong day, but we're not going to be able to help anybody if we can't help ourselves, which we're damn near
You're
there.
correct, sir. You're correct, sir. But I will be addressing that tomorrow at 2 p.m.
2 p.m.?
I will. Yes, sir. See me Central at 2 p.m. tomorrow and bring your friends. Yes, sir. Central time. Okay. Same number, same bat time. All right? All right, brother. Thank you for coming on. Sunnette, I do apologize, sister. Sunnette,
no, it's no problem. I'm here.
I do apologize. He's obviously an outraged individual, and he wants some answers. And
I don't blame him. I don't blame him, Becky. We all want the answers. Becky, you need to give me 1 second. We have security at my estate. Give me 1 second. Hello.
Oh, sure.
I'm finding you. I unfortunately have earplugs in. I'm on a radio interview, so I wouldn't have heard. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you find out what the problem is. Thank you. I'm terribly sorry about that interruption, but I've just had our security come to my home asking me if I heard the screams of a girl in my estate. But obviously, being on the show, I have earplugs in, so I did not hear.
Oh, wow. That's horrible.
You know, Becky, I must tell you that this is what I want to tell you. I live in a security estate where we have 8-foot walls with electric fencing. We have armed guards. We have patrols. We have alarms. We have cameras. And last week, Thursday, they shot and killed a man 600 meters from my house inside this security estate. We had black people break in. They came underneath the road through our storage system. They broke into a home trying to rob the people, and they murdered the husband 600 meters from my house.
Oh, my Lord, you're kidding me.
No, I'm quite serious. We've had very bad break-ins over the past couple of months in an estate where it's not supposed to happen. It's one of the top 3 most secure estates in the country, and now we've had a murder. And so, no one is safe nowhere. And I think at this stage, all the security systems we have in place is giving us a false sense of security. You know, we think that we are safe here, so we are not as vigilant. And no, we are not safe. Definitely not.
Wow, that is horrible.
Yes.
Horrible.
No, it is terrible.
Oh.
Yep.
Wow.
So you know,
I've got a gentleman that wants to ask you a question. His name is Wilbur.
Yes.
Sunnette, Wilbur, you're on. You're on.
Hello, Sunnette.
Hello, Wilbur. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, hon. I just got back from Austin, so I got to sit in on about the last 45 minutes of this. Mainly what I want to do is make a statement. You ladies have such a dark cloud hanging over you. I want to remind you all of some historic facts, and they're racial. No white society has ever been successfully invaded by a black society in history. None. We Europeans are always the ones on top, from the Romans to the Carthaginians, to the English, to the Americans. We've always been the successfuls, and that's just the way it works. I agree with Becky and you 100% that they are doing this incredible push but I have faith in the fact that, like I said, we can't talk like this without being called racist, but the very fact of the matter is we are a very evolved race, and we are very intelligent. We are very tall, very strong, and this is just not going to work. Now, it's going to be horrible. A lot of good black people are going to get hurt. A lot of people are going to be misunderstood, but it's going to happen, and I've been saying this for a long time. I did an article, 3-4 days ago, where I'm continually called racist because, like Becky, I just call a spade a spade. Excuse the pun. I just tell it like it is. I am appalled at South Africa. I am appalled at this Sharia law nonsense. But eventually what's going to happen is the Caucasian race, the Europeans are going to get mad, and the pendulum's going to swing the other way. And then we'll have to take another 50 years to apologize for what we did. And now, I do not agree with this man's politics, okay? But you got to admit, one little short white boy from Austria shook up the world in 1941. And it took the whole world to beat him. That's a white boy. That's the way it really works, fellas. That's the way it really goes down. You might not agree with his politics, but there was a whole can of whip ass there. And he did it. And we don't need another one like him, because he's a little skewed on some of his politics. But that kind of mentality is who we are. And it makes people like Al Sharpton mad. It makes people like Jesse Jackson mad. But if you listen to Dr. John David Manning on YouTube, he will parrot everything I just said. Everything. I was on a show a couple of 3 months ago, I think with Michael B., and they had a black college professor on there with a girl telling everybody how the African races had transcended the Atlantic Ocean, invented hieroglyphics, and constructed pyramids all over the world. And they put me on, and I said, Professor, I agree with you 100%. I just want you to tell me one thing. Well, what's that? Now, I want you to show me what them pyramids are in the Belgian Congo. Well, they told me that the Illuminati had cloaked them so we couldn't see them. I crappeth thee not. And I was on the text with Michael B. at the time. When he said that, I texted him, here's his sign. There it is. The Vikings transcended the ocean. Christopher Columbus transcended the ocean. Fernando del Watto transcended the ocean, and all the English did. But I don't think I saw Kunta Kinte in one boat that he wasn't chained in the bottom. That's just the way it worked. So, all you NSA, I hope you're listening. I want you to understand everyone. When we finally, I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana, and I grew up in the 1950s. I'm really not a racist, but in a little way I am. When I see like Rebecca and Becky, and I see white women put upon like this, it just makes me mad. It just makes me mad.
I just want to say to you that I do agree and I do believe, and this is I also said to Becky in the beginning of the program, that we will prevail. But we cannot allow this to continue forever, because in South Africa, we are being slaughtered every single day in inaction. A lack of action is costing us lives. For every day that this is allowed to continue, that nobody does anything, that nobody speaks out against what is happening in South Africa, we bury one more grandmother or grandfather or child. And we cannot afford it as a nation, as a white South African nation. There are so few of us left. Yeah. So I'm just saying.
Becky, I got one thing I want to do for you before I have to go.
Wait, real quick.
I'm not going right now. Okay.
Let Sunette finish. Go ahead, Sunette.
Okay, go ahead, Sunette. Go ahead. I didn't touch you then. Go ahead.
No, sir. I'm just saying that, yes, sir, I do agree with you. But I'm also saying that this cannot take, for the South African sake, or in our perspective, this cannot take another 50 years to change, because there will be none of us left here. None of us. we are literally being slaughtered. And the people who can flee the country are fleeing the country. So in South Africa and in Africa as a whole, I do not believe that we have very many years left. There will not be white South Africans left.
Yeah. Well, Suzette, what I was saying, after we do what we do, it's going to take 50 years of apologizing when we're done.
No, I heard that.
Becky, I got a gift for you, then I'm going to go on to my next subject, okay? Thanks.
Sure.
Hello, my name is Punk.
Hey, Punk, how are you doing? That's one of our up-and-coming Sunette. That's his grandbaby.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
Okay, go play, baby. I want her to say, I want to give y'all an interesting story. I read something in the news today. It was so good. It wasn't sex, but it was damn close. Please, hey, give me my coffee back, girl. Anyway, Al Sharpton was taping the show last night, one of his little racial tirades and all that, and his hands started bleeding. He stopped in mid-taping and said, "What is this?" And one of the other commentators laughed and said, "That's the blood of those two officers on your hands, fool."
Whoa.
Whoa. And if that ain't the voice of God, I'm not a white boy from Austin.
Yeah, right. I know, right?
Well, ladies, Suzanne's got a whole lot more to say than I do, Becky. I just had to chime in. I just drove in from Austin. I've been out of it for a week, and I've been trying to put my machines back together, and I lost 3 machines at once through charging, and I had to go to the Apple store and get everything done right. I'm back up and running. That's why I'm talking to you now. And Suzette, I totally believe, totally believe I am not a racist. A lot of my opinions were formed by black voices I listen to that know the truth. What amazes me is how our government can ignore the Constitution, just ignore it. I don't know how South Africa's run, but we actually have a Bill of Rights, and it's very, very simple. The Second Amendment is one sentence. And I once said in a rally in Austin, if we ever take over down here in Texas, I'm going to rewrite the Bill of Rights, and the Second Amendment's going to be, hey, y'all can have guns, okay? So they can't seem to understand anything else.
Y'all got guns.
Anyway, I'm still listening. I know you ladies got a lot more to talk about, and God bless both of you. And hey, Suzette.
Yes, Joel.
You there?
Yes,
Is
I'm
still
indeed.
Yeah, but it's Sunette. She'll answer if you call her by her right name.
All right, Sunette. I know you're married, but I just love that accent.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
I'm blushing now. Thank you.
Okay, Becky, I'll yield the ground.
Wilbur, she's as beautiful as she sounds. Trust me, inside and out. That is this woman is definitely a mentor to me. I've latched on to her, and I'm following her around the globe. She is truly someone that I look up to, and she is every bit of the definition of Shiro in my life.
Yeah.
So
I know. I do. I admire very much her taking care of children.
Yes.
I mean that's just, as you know, Becky, in our private struggle with the grandchildren against CPS. I've come across a lot of people that I've worked with, and Sunette, what I do with the CPS here is I always say I just play by the rules they set. It's as simple as that.
Yes.
They try to kill a child, I return the favor. They try to kidnap a person, I return the favor. You know, so quit setting the rules, and I'll quit playing by them.
Yes, I love you, Wilbur.
I love you too. I love anybody who looks like Pharaoh.
You love my throwback Thursday picture, don't you, brother?
Oh yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I've been married 5 or 6 times. It's 5 times. Been married 5 times. I've been run off so many times. I thought PMS would pack my stuff.
You're an idiot.
Word.
Yeah. God bless him. You know what cracks me up, Sunette, is I know that when he says I've been married, wait a minute, 5 times. I know he's actually got his hand up counting them. Like he's probably at this point got their names tattooed on the inside of his fingers so he doesn't get lost. Do you know what I'm saying?
Hey, I've been married to an Indian, a black, a Jew, a little redneck, and the last girl, Pam's from Chicago. I have never married a Texas girl. I've got to do that one day. I've never married a Texas girl.
That may be the problem. That might be the problem, Wilbur.
Well, consequently, I haven't got.
Well, you know, everybody gets it right at some point. You just keep trying there, brother. You're the little engine that could.
Oh, God.
All right. Well, you have a blessed day, and thank you for calling in, Wilbur. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, ladies. You made my day.
Thank you so much. Take good care.
He's a mess, sister. He's a mess, Sunette. He's one of my boys. He's crazy as all get out. He writes some of the most hysterical blogs, but they're to the point and they're so full of truth. It's pathetic. But
he has to be a very exceptional character to have me giggling amidst all of what we are talking about at the moment. I really do love people like that. Otherwise, I think our lives would be absolutely dreadful. So, yes, we need more Wilburs as much as we need more heroes. So,
absolutely.
That was fun.
Absolutely.
That was fun.
Yeah, he's
all
funny.
Have guns.
Yes,
I think
we can all have
guns is something. Yeah. I need to put that in our Constitution as well someday when we rewrite it. You can all have guns.
He's so funny, and he always starts and ends his blogs with just a good old boy from Austin. You know, he puts it plain and simple, so everybody can understand it, and that's kind of his point with what he's saying, because they don't seem to understand the very thing that they're fighting for. They refuse to act upon. You know, my Second Amendment. They're trying to take my gun. Well, they're trying to take your gun. What does the Second Amendment tell you to do about that? You go get them.
Yes, exactly.
You put them in custody. You know.
Insanity, sis. No, I know. But you know what was maybe more special about this, the past couple of minutes is that, you know, we can do so many things, and we can become sad and we can be concerned and all of that, but we need to never lose two things, and that is our faith and our sense of humor, because those are the things that carry us through sometimes of the worst times. So we need to actually be able to look at ourselves and even our situation and have a good laugh at ourselves at our own expense every now and again, without losing sight, obviously, of what is important. But,
I agree completely, and that is the one thing that keeps us on the right side of sanity and rather than insanity. You know, if we have a little bit of that in our lives, it makes the rest of it tolerable, in my opinion.
Well, I must tell you that, when we do what we do, when I work with people who have lived in a squatter camp or are living in a squatter camp, when I am in court fighting the regime, and when I report on things that they'd rather not have me report on, you speaking of sanity, I think that I most probably am certifiable. And I definitely think that to a certain extent I am definitely insane because, like I said to you, I don't think as a little girl this is something you sit on, on your dad's lap and you definitely don't go, Dad, one day I'm going to be a crazy activist and my government's going to hate me and thousands of other people are going to hate me and they're going to keep on trying to silence me and that's what I want to do with my life. So.
Yeah. I hear that. I certainly never saw this in my future. I've got a $20,000 Harley-Davidson motorcycle out there crying out for my love every day that I just can't seem to squeeze enough time in to enjoy her. The weather's changing, so certainly I'll take a couple hours to give her some riding time. And, I too sing, not professionally, but I do sing and have known to bust out a few tunes here and there. And, I perform random acts of kindness around my own community. I'm always feeding the homeless or clothing the people in the shelters or, seeing what I can do to help out a brother and a sister. And I guarantee you I can have at least 100 of my patriots listening in, calling and testify that I reached out to help them in their time of need, not even in my own state, but no matter who they are, because that's my heart. That's something God gave me. He gave me a huge capacity for compassion. And what keeps me humble in this life, to be quite honest, Sunnette, is even in my hardships and the obstacles that I've faced, and this is going to sound so wrong, but for lack of a better way to put it, is this: what keeps me sane in it all and continuing to move forward in encouragement is that somebody has it worse than me. So what am I whining about,
Exactly.
Whether it be
exactly.
You understand what I'm saying. And I want to help those people. I've got a young lady that is from South Africa as well. It's a good Christian sister friend of mine that I met on Facebook some years back. I guess I've probably known her 3 or 4 years now. Her name is Diane, and she makes packages for these children in these squatter camps. And I want to know, is there and I post her information up frequently, I want to know if you can tell these folks how we might be able to contribute or gather or organize some folks who would like to take charge of getting these packages to South Africa with some of the bare essentials and proteins, nuts, raisins, berries, things that aren't so perishable, that these folks can, because you guys got to remember, they have no refrigeration, they have no electricity, they're living in tents, they have nothing. So certainly, I'm sure at nighttime they're experiencing the cold weather. It does get cold there, correct, Sunette, in the night?
Yes, our winter is upon us now. I have about 2 months that I need to finish these houses in. I want the people out of those tents before the winter starts. It's a tall order. I am endeavoring to complete their homes so that they don't have to face the winter in those tents because it becomes freezing, especially where they are at. I'm in Pretoria, which is more to the north, more to the warmer sides as far as our country is concerned. These people are not too far away from me, but where it's cold, much colder than where I live. So
how
yes,
can we help?
I need them out of this. Well,
how can we help?
Firstly, thank you for wanting to help. I think, if people want to read more about what I do at the charity project, the best is to visit my website, on the front page there is a link to Klein Fallet, which is the name of the project. So they'll find it there. My website is just www.sunnettebridges.com. They can search the word Klein Fallet and they'll find that, the website for that. There is obviously a website. But the spelling of that, is not as easy. It's not a word that is familiar to American people. So, if you can post on your blog the links, I'll send them to you. The links and your people and the people who support you and listen to your program can take a look at the website of my charity organization to see what we are doing. All the ways that people can contribute are on there. We have a PayPal account, so you must also understand that the rand is so weak that one single dollar is a lot of money to us at the moment. So any help that we can get. Sending parcels with food is a bit problematic unless you have a very good system for that, because obviously we have to get these parcels from customs, and that's quite a process. And if it exceeds a certain amount of money, we have to pay taxes on that. It's not an easy process, and it's not one that I am, familiar with. So for me, I wouldn't even know how to go about receiving, other than people just posting these things. I wouldn't know how to go about receiving large amounts or large quantities of donations, physical donations from the United States.
So monetary funding would be the best option for us, and then your people can get those supplies and food needs met once you have
yes,
that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
The public here are trying as best they can to give us food because obviously we need to prepare 3 meals a day for 82 people in a tent. So it's not easy, but we do it. And we have a lot of fun doing it most of the time. But these people now need to get into their homes. So we do have food, and we work very hard, and the public's been very supportive. But now we need to build these houses because these people cannot go through this winter with their children in tents. To me, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I need to get them out of there.
Sunette, let me ask you a question. I fly free. I'm not sure that I could get out of this country and back into it because of who I am now. I haven't left the country in, 4 years. I haven't been outside of the USA, but I fly free. And if I were able to get out of the country and back into the country, I don't know that I could do that, but I'm going to try. I would like to come to South Africa, and I would like to give a week of my time to help you in that build and feed the homeless.
Well, if you can do that, please, you can be my guest. We'll take very good care of you. Make sure that you are safe. I'll show you around our country and show you what it is that we are facing at the moment and why we are working tirelessly to try and resolve the situation that we are in. So please feel free at any time. Let me know. I would love to receive you at my home and show you where it is that we work. But, most important, above all else, even monetary donations or anything to us at the moment is getting the word out about what is happening in South Africa. And for people to wake up to the reality of what could happen in their own country if they don't start paying attention to what is happening around them every single day. That we have a whole long story about a frog that was, in cold water and the pot was put on the fire, and as the water heated up, the frog never even realized until it boiled, and then he was dead. And that's what's happening to us. The water is heating up slowly. People are not taking notice, and when they do, eventually it's going to be too late. Getting the word out about what is happening in South Africa, but also waking up to the reality of what will happen in your own country at the moment is the most important thing to me.
Well, we definitely will do that, but what I would like to do is come over and dedicate some of my time, if I can make that happen, and not only dedicate some of my time, but document through documentary. I have a huge audience. We have over 30 nations now that are listening to us regularly on Rage Against the Regime, and I've formed a coalition in so many other nations that we can draw help from, the Australian Defence League, the English Defence League, Britain First, some of the, and I know I'm going to get cussed for this, but the Knights of Templar out of Canada, not who you think they are people. Some are good, some are bad, just like in every organization, but we have some very strong support in some other nations, and that we formed I have personal coalition with, fighting against many issues across the globe, both politically and on a humanitarian level. So we would be able to document this, and we would be able to circulate it, and I think that would be a huge boost to help in the area of donations, to help those people, not just in your area, but in other areas in South Africa.
Yes, no, absolutely. I mean, the whole objective of the current program that I'm doing and building the farm is that we get it complete so we can start the next one. I mean, we are not helping our people by simply helping 100 people. But we need to finish the first one first so that people can see that there is a way to get out of this, that there is hope, and that, we won't give up. But for us to be able to do that, we need to at least complete one of these programs successfully so that people can see that we are not lying about what we are doing, that we are serious about it, and that we are trying to build a new life, especially for the children. To me, Sometimes these parents of these kids make me really angry. They frustrate me. It's hard work to get people who have been living in squatter camps for years to become accustomed to a different way of life. But we will endure because of their children. And we need to provide them with hope and a better future in the country of their birth.
May I ask you a question?
Yes,
with the water supply for these villages, I've been told that it would cost about $5,000 in order to build a well to supply water for a village, or for these I guess housing divisions that you're putting in. Is that what you in fact are doing as well? You're building the shelter and then you're trying to provide a means for clean water?
Well, we have boreholes. We have about 30,000 liters of water per hour per borehole, so we have a lot of water. But what we do is trying to conserve this water. We built a water purification plant. It was one of the first pieces of infrastructure that we built there. So we purify all our grey and black water that gets pumped into a irrigation dam, and that is what we use to irrigate crops with, so that we do not waste water whatsoever. So obviously we do not build villages like this where you don't have enough water. We've spent a lot of time and a lot of money on infrastructure and also developing eco-friendly projects where we do not harm the environment and where we provide food security and where we, first do no harm is extremely important when you do a project like this. You cannot place people in an area where there's already no water. Use it up, not clean it up. Don't use it a second time. So these are important things, and these were the things that we've spent in the first half of developing this project. We spent most of our money on, so that by the time these people have moved in.
Go ahead.
Sorry? No.
No. Well, by the time, go ahead. I want you to finish that sentence because I'm curious.
I just said by the time they are in their homes, that we are not, we already have enough water for them, but not only that, we are looking after the environments that we have moved into. So this is very important.
As far as your energy source, are you utilizing solar power?
At the moment, these people are living in tents. So obviously, they have solar lights that we put outside in the sun every day for a little bit of a source of light. And we have gas that we use in the kitchen. But we do, at the moment, use electricity supplied by government because the houses are not finished. But the houses themselves will be completely off the grid. So it will be solar and other sources of energy. So we will not be using state-supplied power.
Okay, and that was my concern because you had spoken earlier about the issues with the electric grid going down frequently, and solar obviously would be the common sense measure. And you are providing security for the people as well. I realize that your government has disarmed the citizens. However, it would seem that they have not exercised that same force against the gangs and the murderers that you folks are falling to over in South Africa. So is there a way to secure these communities to a degree that these people can actually sleep at night without having one eye open?
Well, Becky, at the moment, these people are living in the open cells, in tents. They are secure simply because 80 of them are in very close proximity to one another. It's not that easy, for somebody to get in there. And obviously because they are poor, nobody even thinks twice about going there to rob them or attack them or anything like that. But yes, their complex will be secured. But like I've just told you, I live in one of the top 2 security estates in the country, and people are being murdered inside here. So, there are only so many measures you can put into place. I always say about gun laws, there is a saying about gun laws that says when you outlaw guns, only outlaws will have guns. Surely people in power must know that laws imposed upon citizens of any kind will only be obeyed by law-abiding citizens. People who are murderers and who who are thieves and rapists, and what they don't care what laws you put in place. You can put as many as you like. It's not going to influence them because they couldn't care about the very first law in the first case. So I don't understand. They are saying that too many people are being murdered and being shot. So let's make more strict gun laws. But who are they imposing those laws upon? I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Besides, more people are stabbed to death in this country than are actually being shot. What are they going to do next? Outlaw knives? I don't understand these laws.
Or a skillet or hammers or
or a broken bottle or
it makes no sense to us either over here. I have a business I have a business off of Matagorda Island that we're building. In fact, we're going to have our launch tomorrow. It will be a soft launch for business. And it's a military-grade training camp. And not only will we be training clients from agencies and corporations, but we will have, obviously, with a more strenuous or stringent application background check for civilians. And what we teach is long and short-range shooting, hand-to-hand combat, disarmament. Those two things are going to save so many lives at the end of the day with what we're facing right here in America that the population couldn't imagine. We're the only facility that will offer that to civilians. And, of course, we're not trying to breed up an army, but what we are trying to do is create preparedness awareness. And the end mission for us is to have the people who come, the clients who come to our island, to leave proficient in whatever area they've trained in. We train them in field medic / basic EMT skills with a state certification on the EMT side for level 1. So these are all things that you could use in your everyday life, not just in the event of a man-made disaster, but a natural disaster. We need preparedness teams out there who are more than capable to handle certain situations. And those are just a few of the things we teach: food, fire, water, survival, shelter, situational awareness. We're teaching many things on this island. We have 28 miles of island to play on, so to speak, and we hire only veterans. And I say that, I really shouldn't say that, because there are a few people that we've hired in as trainers that are from the civilian sector, and that would be in the medical area. And then we have a couple of private contractors who do military contracting that obviously didn't serve, but they serve the purpose. And you have many of them there in your own country, security for diplomats and things of that nature. So
yes,
we have
detail, yeah.
Yes, and we have set up an ideal situation for the populace to be able to better handle a situation in their own backyard. And for the women, and the reason I brought this up, for the women and the men and even the children in these villages that you're building, it would be very advantageous for them to be able to do hand-to-hand combat and disarmament.
We will definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
We will
good.
definitely train our people. I mean, yes, definitely. I mean, we also my organization, my charity organization. When we started out, we already started doing training sessions with professionals to teach our women how to defend themselves. We did an anti-rape course. So, of course, we will be doing this with all the people that are living there and also train them how to protect themselves and their environment. And also, obviously, we already have some people that we are training as emergency personnel.
That is
out of town. Yeah.
That is really good news.
You have to do it, Becky. I mean, these people are on a farm. They are not in town. They are a couple of minutes away from help, able to handle emergency situations that they might face. So, yes, this is also very important for me and for me to provide the proper training. But not, I mean, in all kinds of things. I mean, you can't put people on this farm, expect them to be self-sustained if you don't. to take care of themselves, not only be safe, but also be self-sufficient, and also be able to, teach them new skills so that they can work on their farm, provide for their families, because they cannot remain a charity provider. I mean, if they were, then I would only ever be able to take care of these 100 people. I need to be in a situation where I can move on and know that they will be fine and be able to take care of themselves.
That's really good news, Sunnette, because that is going to be vital to the survival of the whites in South Africa, and that will be a situation where they could, in fact, engage the aggressor and come out victors in certain situations. And hand-to-hand combat and disarmament, I preach it like the gospel right here in America. I think that every man, woman, and child should be versed, because I assure you your opposition is versed in those tactics, and it could save your life and your family's life.
No, absolutely.
Let me ask you a question.
My family also. Yes.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, that's we see husband, my children, they loved it because it was the only time that they could ever spend one entire day bullying their mother and throwing me down on the floor and disarming me, and I don't know, it was just hectic. I was bruised for days, and my children, I mean, they were just uncontrollable. They were, it looked like a army camp here at my home, and my children were doing this and practicing this, against one another for days and days and days. I, at one stage, had to say, please stop doing this. You are going to kill each other. So it was quite hectic, but we loved it. And, you feel very empowered. You feel less scared, and you feel more in a position where you can defend yourself if need be.
Hey, Sunnette, I do believe we have Karen on the line. Karen, I just opened your mic. Is that you, sis? 860, is that you, Karen? No, I guess she's not going to speak. Rudy, I've opened your mic up. Are you there, brother?
Yes, ma'am. How are you doing today?
Would you like to say hi to Sunnette, and do you have any questions?
Oh, I would love to. I've heard so much about her. How are you doing, Miss Sunnette?
Oh, I'm very well. Thank you very much. And yourself?
Better than some, worse than others. Somewhere in the happy middle. That's all I really care to be.
I didn't get that.
Ma'am?
She didn't understand what you said, brother.
I said better than some, worse than others. Somewhere in the happy middle. And,
that's a good place to be. It's a good place to be.
Yes, ma'am. I was just listening to y'all talking about hand-to-hand combat and women, and I couldn't agree more. I believe that everybody should be able to defend themselves. And, of course, we live in a nation of laws where you shouldn't have to, but why would we have laws if we didn't need them? Criminals don't pay attention to them, and in that mindset, you shouldn't have to try to understand why you're being attacked or what motives that they have, what are they trying to achieve. But other than the fact that they're trying to attack you, you should just be able to jump, react, defend yourself and preserve your own life. Because over here in this country, we have something called 911. And back in the 90s, they made a song, 911 is just a joke. And the irony of that is it's by the time they get to you, you probably be beaten up or badly injured or worse off, dead. But I've told the kids, I said, the only 911 you need to be concerned about at the moment is yourself. Because we live pretty far from a city. And if you can't take care of yourself, you know what hurts you. You know when your life is in immediate danger, and there's not always a phone, and having a couple of girls, men are always trying to take advantage of that. They're going to overpower a woman and have their way and take what they want and so on and so forth. And I believe that a woman has obvious differences than a man, obviously. Physical and I've always believed that a woman is a little bit more mentally tough because she's the one that kind of keeps a man in line, and the man is more physical and stronger, and so to speak. But a woman has some advantages in preserving her own life, because a lot of people are not really thinking that a woman is going to be able to defend herself. And when she does, she should do so with speed, with power, with shock and violence of action. And that should be able to make your attacker think, whoa, I just bit off way more than I can chew. And a lot of people think the whole hand-to-hand and fighting and you know, they see these kung fu movies and there's all this mysticism and all around it that you're just like, wow, I can't do that. No, you don't have to. I've always believed in simplicity. You know, if somebody's trying to punch you, don't be there when that punch comes. You know, if you're trying to defend yourself, if you have to block, well, make sure that when you're blocking, they're going to be hurting, and for that, you're going to make them pay. And of course, if being that you're in an area where it's a little bit more violent and they're going to beating you up and taking your wallet may be one thing, but taking your life is totally different. And you live in a different area than us, and it hasn't quite came here yet, but it looks like the pot is boiling. It's beginning to boil. But if somebody should try to do that, well, I should hope so that you've already made up in your mind that you're going to defend yourself, but you're going to defend yourself so victoriously that nobody's going to want to come near you. Nobody's going to want to ever try that again because they're going to say, watch out with her. And I believe that if you trying to leave that with other people, that's a force multiplier. If, you know, you can teach 2 people, those people can teach 2 more people, so on and so forth. Now you have yourself, what's the word I'm looking for? Formidable force. And they're not to be trifled with. But a lot of people count out women, and I've always told people like that, you know, so that's one thing that a lot of people are overlooking is the women in this country. They're great. They're strong-willed. We don't treat our women like walking behind us. They're not worthy of walking next to us. We keep our women next to us, and we believe that they're strong too. And our women have served in our country's military, and that's what people are counting out. They're counting out half of our population that can actually take up arms and actually can get the job done. Not everybody's willing to do it, even men, but I know there's some pretty tough women out there that are willing to step up to the plate, like Becky and yourself.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Rudy. You know, I do believe that we live in a time where everybody needs to play their part. You cannot hide behind the fact that you're a woman, that you'll be an easier target, that you are more afraid. We cannot do this because that gives your enemy an advantage already, knowing that you are scared. When we were taught how to defend ourselves, the first lesson was that you should not be standing there defending yourself, but you need to become the aggressor. You need to make the person attacking you afraid of what you are going to do, as opposed to being afraid of what they're going to do next. So these are important things, and there are still millions of people who do not realize that it's important. They become victims, believing that they would never, you know, always believing that it would not be them, it would be somebody else, until they're a victim. And then they want to say, you know, I wish I knew how to defend myself. So to me, it's extremely important, and I don't think enough people are paying attention to exactly how important it is.
Well, when you're looking at the demise of a race, at such an alarming rate, that is certainly something that needs to be addressed as soon as possible in every region where you are under attack. And most certainly here in America, we have a little game that the blacks like to play with the whites and the Jews here in America, and it's called knockout. And many lives have been lost, as well as flash mobs who like to go in and just start beating the hell out of white people for no apparent reason. Generally, they're youth, anywhere from the ages of 10, if you can imagine, to the ages of 30, where I don't know how the hell they organize. I really don't, Sunette, because we can't organize a bread cell where patriots will actually get up off their tough and get down to a location to protest against anything really by any large number. But they'll get literally up to 400 of them in one night by Twitter or any of the other social networking. They'll gather and they will target an area, not even just one store, one mall. They wreak havoc for blocks. And the police will not stop them. The citizens will not stop them. And they go in and they target white people and they put them in comas and they kill them and they cause permanent damage, brain damage, paralysis, you name it. Their objective is to initiate the most horrific punishment based on nothing more than hate for the white race. The media and the police departments will not call it what it is, which is racial attack. It is a crime being committed as a hate crime. It will not be reported. They are not being punished as such. Any that are incarcerated, which are very few, by the way. And I know it sounds horrible, but I have told my people numerous times, you know how to stop this? The way you stop it is you get 20 people in your area that have a concealed gun permit, and you start patrolling the streets. And when you see this happen, you shoot them. You send a message that says, we have the right to defend our person and our property, and in the event that we feel someone else's life is in danger, in the state of Texas, if someone is raping or beating the lady across the street, if I have to use deadly force to stop that in order to preserve her life, I have every right to do so within my law. You start exercising those rights and you send a message to that youth that says, you might not be so lucky to get away with what you think you're about to do. Because if that's what you have to do to preserve life because your country, your government, your law enforcement agencies and your media will not call this what it is, which is genocide on whites, that's exactly what it is, because they have no regard for your life. And they're actually hoping that with that one-punch knockout, when you fall to the ground, you're going to hit your head in a manner that's either going to break your neck on the curb or it's going to kill you because you have caused yourself so much internal damage due to the fall itself from being knocked out that you're going to die, and they wear it like a badge. To them, it's funny. To me, that's not funny. I myself almost fell victim to it. Yeah. So, and I know that sounds harsh. I know it does. It really does. But how do you stop the madness when your own government won't?
We have obviously now these farm attacks and farm murders. You know, in the first 12 days of this year, they murdered 9 people on farms in South Africa. But last year at some stage, a farmer was attacked. He was actually murdered, and then they put his body in a car and tried to get away with it. And his wife managed to put an emergency call out to the farmers in the surrounds. And the farmers came there and they started shooting at these murderers. And you know that they were arrested and charged with murder. So we have such ridiculous laws as far as that's concerned. I mean, you literally have to be almost dead before you shoot somebody in this country. But it did send a very clear message. 20 or 30 farmers suddenly appearing out of nowhere when a farmer got attacked will make them think twice about going back to that very same area, because they now know that those farmers are vigilant and they will not stand for it. But a farmer had then already lost his life. So, yes, we do need to fight back. The one thing that I don't stand by and that I won't tolerate is people saying, but we need to do the same. We do not need to do that. That is not who we are. We are a civilized people. We will not form mobs and attack people unprovoked. I don't think it's civilized. I think it's barbaric. And I don't think we need to stoop to the level of exactly the people that we are criticizing. But I do believe that we have the right to defend ourselves, our area in which we live. And that is why, to me, 100 people living in a community like that need to know how to fight back. If they leave bodies behind that came there to attack them, well, then that's just how it is. But people need to know that we will not stand for being murdered in our homes anymore. But unfortunately, we have such a large population of elderly folk who are holding on to their homes that they've been living in for years, that they finished paying through the years that they were working. Now suddenly these areas have become unsafe. Their homes are worth nothing. Their pensions are worth nothing. They have nowhere to go. They're not safe, and they're too old to defend themselves. And these have now become the target. 60% of the white people that are murdered are people older than 65 years. We have elderly women being gang raped in their homes and then murdered. We have husbands tied up, forced to watch their wives being raped and then murdered. And they're doing this to our grandmothers and grandfathers. And we need to do something for it to stop. Just a couple of weeks ago, they attacked an elderly couple on a farm in the Free State, one of our provinces. The husband's 72 and his wife was 71. They attacked them, three black men. They came to their home. In fact, they were already in their home. Now, this is the situation. Our government says that they go to these homes because they're hungry and they steal. But what had happened is that they already broke in and stole what they wanted while this couple was at church on a Sunday. But they waited there for them. They didn't want to go there just to steal. They wanted to murder them. So they waited. And this couple returned from church. They were attacked. They were tied up on a single bed in one of their spare bedrooms. They were tortured for hours. Then the husband was forced to watch his wife, 71 years old, being raped. Then they took them out into the forest, and they shot the husband dead, and they threw his body in a ditch. Then they took his wife, and they placed her body, while she was still alive, on top of his. They placed her on top of him, and then they shot her dead on top of him. Now, that is a hate crime. There is nothing else to describe it. They were not there to steal, because if they wanted to steal, they could have stolen what they wanted and left before those people came home from church. But they wanted to murder them. In another instance, a day before that, a lady of 65 was attacked in her home. She was found a day before that. She was held captive in her home for 5 days. She was repeatedly raped and tortured. And then after 5 days, they set her alight. And so this is what is happening to our people. And these elderly people cannot defend themselves. Their communities need to be provided with a structure in which they can alert their neighbors, and that these people can really come down in force and kill those people that are perpetuating these attacks.
That is awful.
There's a global agenda, I'm sure you're well aware. I'm not going to elaborate. I'm pretty sure you're well aware, because you're right in the middle and thick of things. And this global agenda is imposing their will on people by creating chaos. And this is not a crime. This is an act of war. And there's exactly what you talked about, all that hate crime and stuff. If you look at the atrocities that happen in war, that's exactly it right there. Now, I will say this: if you read a book, Art of War, written by Sun Tzu, which actually is not his real name, but a title given, he'll lay it out for you. And it's a very easy read. Even I can do it. It has nice, pretty pictures, let me tell you. He states, you can defend yourself. You can defend yourself. There's nothing wrong with defending. But you're never going to achieve victory unless you go on the attack. Now, I'm not saying to be barbaric, or by no means, and to stoop down to the level. That's not what I'm saying. The war, you're not going to understand, because civilized people, they live in the sovereign nation. They live in nations. Soldiers are not grouped with citizens for specific reasons, because they're training for war. That is what they do. Now, that's all a soldier's purpose is for, is to kill. And it's not, I know we give our soldiers kudos and pats on the back and whatnot, but that in essence is what they signed up for. Yes, defense of their country, but defense of our country by repelling another nation. And how do you do that? Not by arresting, it's by killing. And then a lot of people don't want to hear that, don't want to acknowledge that. I'm not trying to reason that, but it is what it is. And history repeats itself on so many different levels. Now, as there's being a global agenda implemented, and you're having, why are there so many Muslims going to all these other nations? England's having a problem, Australia, France, Germany, us, and it's just why. And it's just, they're there for war. They're bringing war. Now, an official act and declaration by our country, we're not at war. We didn't declare war with nobody. Well, war wasn't declared by your country. It was declared by somebody else on you. And that is what a lot of people fail to realize. And I know you're going to think about stuff and read, and because you're a very intelligent woman, and I don't doubt that one bit, but you can't reason with an animal. You cannot. Why did the tiger eat this person? Well, because it's a tiger. You know, you just know that you're not going to conform the tiger so you can walk on a leash with you. It's a wild animal. As a lot of people are trying to justify in their minds, and that's a civilized society. Why are you not everybody born in that part of the world and raised up by that ideology believes in that, but it's kind of hard to go against the grain when their head will be put on a chopping block. So it's a harsh reality what you're going through, and of course I'm definitely going to keep you and everybody around you in prayers, definitely, most definitely. But I just ask you to pick up that book and read a little bit if you haven't, and it's kind of hard to rationalize another human being who's going to stoop to that level and commit such atrocities towards a particular race of people or target women or target old people. Who the hell does that kind of crazy stuff in this civilized society? They're animals. Not. I'm not saying a race or particular people, but those people that did that are animals. There's no way of reasoning with them. And I hope you'll do everything you can to keep your life intact and those around you. And that's all I ask. But of course, I'm going to keep you in my prayers.
No, thank you very much, Rudy. And yes, you're right. I refer to these people as savages because that's what I believe they are. And I'm also not referring to a race. I think anybody who commits those kinds of atrocious acts, who breaks into homes and slaughters innocent people, tortures them for hours, rapes old women, any woman, child, and those cannot possibly be civilized human beings. They are not people, obviously, that we can reason with. But these are also not the kind of acts that I could ever live with having my people commit, because that would mean that there's no difference. But we do need, and I do understand, yes, of course, if you're only ever defending yourself, there will be no victory. But we are not currently in a situation where we can do anything other than defend ourselves. But we also need to regroup. We need to get our people in safer communities. We're not used to this kind of life, so we are not equipped to deal with it. We used to live like most people in America live, in open suburbs, and we were never concerned with having to defend ourselves daily and being slaughtered in our homes. And this came upon us very suddenly. So now we are not safe. Some of us are fortunate enough to be able to live in these security estates, but now people are being murdered in the estates. So we need to find different ways of protecting ourselves. And our one big desire in South Africa, because we are such a small group of people left, is that this government will simply give us a piece of land and say, listen, okay, you guys who don't want to live under this government, not happy with everything else, go there and rule yourselves. Look after yourselves, build your own economy. We're giving you zilch, but we're giving you a piece of land, and we'll leave you in peace there. Because that, at the moment, I think is just about our only saving grace. But that's not going to happen in this country. Blacks do not believe that we even have a right to be here after almost 400 years and building what used to be one of the best countries in the world to live in. Now suddenly we're just not welcome here anymore. But if they give us a piece of land, we will be able to rebuild that to the standard that we are accustomed to, because that is what we do. We build, we expand, we explore, we develop, we create, we farm, we provide. That is our culture. Our culture is not to destroy. But currently it is almost impossible. We cannot build at a rate fast enough. Compared to the rate at which things are being destroyed in this country at the moment. And yes, people are saying, why don't we just leave? There are some of us who can still leave. The ones that could leave easily have left. There are some of us who can still leave, but there are millions who cannot. And I just, turning your back on 1 million or 2 million of your people, saying, well, guys, I'm sorry. We're leaving you subjected to whatever 70 million black people choose to impose upon you, I'm turning a blind eye and I'm walking away. It's not something that I can find peace with doing. So what exactly we're going to do, I don't know. But I also do know that unless we have pressure from the international community, unless people around the world start speaking up and we start putting pressure on this current government, that nothing will change.
It sounds to me that God has put you in a position, and He rightly put you there. I don't think He put you there because you're qualified. I think He put you there because He qualified you. And I think I definitely hold you in high esteem.
I hate to cut you off, both of you, Sunnette and Rudy. I could go on here for hours, but unfortunately I have but 30 minutes overage after we stop airing live, and it appears that we have run out of time. And God, Sunnette, I could talk to you forever. I want to thank all my guests that have come on my show to address this issue today. For the listeners out there, I want to thank you for coming on. Sunnette, I would love to have you back on my show whenever your time allows that. Please come back on, continue the conversation. And real quick, before we run out of time and it cuts me off, give the folks the website information one more time for us, please, so that they can help donate.
Please. Thank you so much, firstly, for the opportunity. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. If you want to speak to me, want to follow up on what I'm doing, please visit my website. It's www.sunette, which is SUNETTE, Bridges, BRIDGES.com. So it's www.sunnettebridges.com. You'll find all the information you need on there. And God bless you all. And really take care of your country. The freedoms that you still have, cherish it. Fight for it, because you cannot get it back once you've lost it.
Amen. Thank you so much, Sunnette. God bless you. You're in my prayers. And I will get back to you on a later date because I really want to bring you back on the show.
Thank you very much, Becky. I would love to. Thank you so much. Take care, Rudy. Thank you very much for talking.
Bye-bye.
I'll have a 2 p.m. God bless you, sis. I'll have a 2 p.m. show tomorrow. I don't generally do a show on Sundays. However, by popular demand, we have some issues that need to be addressed. And for those listening in, I would ask that you would share that information with your friends. I'll create the show and build it for you and get it up on Facebook. Until tomorrow at 2 p.m., this is Becky Williams with Rage Against the Regime. And by the way, Sunnette, Bobby asked me to send you a thank you for coming on the show, and he's sorry that he missed you today.
Thank you very much, and take care. Thank you.
All right. God bless, and keep each and every one of you safe. I'll talk to you tomorrow. This has been Becky Williams with Rage Against the Regime Blog Talk Radio.